playoffs. Oilers lose to the Canucks 3-2. There was 1 goal in the first, 3 goals in the second, 1 goal in the third, and that's the way the game ends. There's 3 scrums. That's the game. And the reason that I'm getting the game out of the way quickly is there's 3 things I want to quickly talk about, and I'm going to try and keep them as quick as possible. First one, Desharnais saves a goal, possibly saving the game. And we all know how the game ended up actually turning out. But at that moment, that was the biggest play of the game. It still might be, and it would have been bigger had the outcome been different. The puck's shot at Pickard, it gets through him, and it's sliding towards the net. Desharnais is there, he puts his stick down, and he flings the puck out and clear of it, becoming a goal. It's a good thing to do. You know, when you're playing hockey, the thing you don't want to happen is have the other team score on you. So you do everything possible to make sure that they don't do that. That's a really good thing to do, especially being that it's not Desharnais' position to make that save. So now they have the momentum. And then they lose the momentum not too much later when the Canucks score. We saw something similar happen tonight where Martinook of the Carolina Hurricanes, I think, I could be wrong on that name, slid into the net like he was riding a slip and slide to clear a puck out. And he succeeded. He got the puck out. They lost the game. They lost the series to the Rangers, having been up on the Rangers. And the Oilers in this game, they had leads up until the point where they didn't. They had a 1-goal lead, gave it up. Another goal lead, gave it up, and then gave up 1 more. And that's just a story of you have to ride your momentum. And that's on the Oilers. They should have taken that, and they should have rode the momentum all the way. And they didn't. And now they have to play Game 6 in their own arena, win in front of their home crowd, and then go back to Vancouver, which I'll get to in the third point as to why this is kind of a pain, and win there. Whereas Vancouver only has to win 1 of the 2. So that's my point against the Oilers themselves. Here's where the refs come in just a little bit. Pettersson's charging penalty, that makes no sense. I'm going to preface this by reading the rule from the NHL rulebook, which states, Rule 42.1, charging. A minor or major penalty shall be imposed on a player who skates, jumps into, or charges an opponent in any manner. Do I think that Pettersson was jumping into the Oilers player? No. I think it was just a bit of a jump up, and it just kind of happened to be, a devastating thing. It seemed like it was a defensive maneuver to try and mitigate the damage that happens to him. That said, the play looked dangerous. I do think that the refs made a right call, but I don't think there was a rule set in place to make this distinction proper, I suppose. Because there's no rule against jumping on the ice. And I don't think, this doesn't really cover what they're talking about when they talk about charging. You're jumping into. This is like if you're skating towards the boards and you're about to hit someone and you jump into them. That's not what this was. So I think either they have to revise this rule or they have to make a new rule. But the thing to keep in mind is this is also on the ref's discretion. This is on them to determine whether or not the call that they have to make is viable for the safety of the players that they are officiating. And in this case, I can tell you that it didn't look like a safe hit. But because of the confusion and the lack of understanding and, quite frankly, just, fans being fans, there has to be some more definitive wording as to how these are given out. But at the end of the day, it's all at the discretion of the refs. Was it safe? Was it not safe? And sometimes they'll make the mistake. This was not one of them. Finally, third thing I want to talk about, and this has kind of been something that I've been thinking about from the moment the game ended to about right now. The distinct difference between Oilers fans and Canucks fans is something to behold, because you've got the Oilers fans who are very, I almost want to say bipolar. When things are going well, they're all in support. And when things are going bad, oh, they're out with pitchforks and torches. I've seen that so many times, and it's ridiculous each and every time. And knowing that a lot of my commentary on the Coyotes stems from my fandom of the Oilers being translated into my fandom of the Coyotes, I took a lot of Oilers mentality with me when I became a fan of the Coyotes. But seeing that, it's kind of funny to me. How quick, on a dime, people can turn from we support you all the way to get out of our team. And on the other side of the border, if you go west, is the Vancouver Canucks, who last season were 6th in the division. And people will make fun of the Canucks fans for their, their undying support, I think is what I'm going to word this as. Sure, they have their complaints. Ian Cole is getting a lot of them right now. But overall, I see support. When someone isn't having a good day, there were Pettersson chants. It lifts his courage. He goes and he looks absolutely dangerous. After the third goal had been scored, and the players were doing their fist bumps at the bench, all you could hear in the arena was JT Miller. And it all goes back to the standings and where these teams were and where these teams have to be. Because Edmonton has been in the playoffs for the past few years. They have 2 of the best players in the NHL, with a lot of high-end talent aside from McDavid and Draisaitl. Their bar's up here. The expectation for the Edmonton Oilers, just as it tends to be for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is they are going to take it all the way and they are going to win the Stanley Cup. With the Vancouver Canucks, they were written off. And I think they were even written off by their own fan base until the playoffs started, which translates to now where they are right now. From last year being 6th in the division and out of the playoffs, to now being top of the division and well into the playoffs and looking like they have a chance to beat the Edmonton Oilers and move on. They, as far as I could tell, they'd probably take it either way. They'd love to have the Stanley Cup. They'd love to have the conference final trophy. I forget the name of it. But they weren't expecting to be here either. They were expecting that this was going to be another rebuild year. Up until, I think, around February or March is when things kind of really got serious. Because there was all this talk about a collapse that was bound to happen. Because this is largely the same team. And then the trade deadline came, and the Canucks started making some really big moves. And those moves worked. And the Canucks, who haven't had much to cheer about for the past few years, now have something to cheer about. To be happy about. Whereas the Oilers, if they don't make it, this is another dud. And that translates into the fans. And how the fans support the team. So if I were to give a message to Oilers fans tonight, be like the Canucks fans. Show that undying support. Criticism is fine. Sometimes it's warranted. But through it all, your team's still in the fight. And you've got to be behind them. As Columbus puts it, you're the 5th line. So in the meantime, stay howling and go for me, Yotes. If you liked what you saw, you can hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, because I'm here all playoffs, you can hit the subscribe button. Keep in touch with the stuff that I do. Share this with your friends if you think they'll find this entertaining. My voice is cracking something fierce, so I'm going to go. I'll be back.